and Periscope, I think.
Okay,
I've just turned them all on, so they should start streaming.
great.
Now I'm going to have a look and see if I can
Yeah, okay.
find the chat app. Hello, everybody that's joining us, by the way. I'll let Lou do the introductions.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Brother Stevie and I thought we would get on and beat our chests and, tear our hair and rent our clothing and pour ashes on our heads. And just like everyone else, enjoy the drama, the trauma, and the madness, and try to make a wee bit of sense of it if we can. I think we can, and help each other to laugh and cry and build a bridge and get over ourselves one more time. Yeah.
I like that. Build a bridge and get over ourselves.
Yes, that's from my spirit guides. That's their quote.
I'm just installing the chat little bit of software so I can actually see if people are here talking.
Okay.
So we can all join in on the conversation. Because this isn't a Lou and Stevie show. It's an everybody that's here show.
Right. We're going to host the madness.
Yes.
We expect despair and hope in equal measure. So take your time and choose your words carefully. Yeah.
I've just uploaded the video, Lou.
Okay.
And the purpose of today's live really is just to talk about the world at the moment. And we can't do that about the coronavirus. We can't do that without the response. And I wouldn't mind sharing where I think it's all kind of gone wrong. Not necessarily about the coronavirus, but just my thoughts over the past few days.
Yeah.
But I just uploaded the video complaining about the UK government simply because I cannot believe their response.
Yeah.
It's in Europe, they're closing the schools nearly all over Europe.
Right.
But don't get me wrong. I know this will literally destroy economies, and I know it destroys jobs, businesses. I get that. It isn't simple. It didn't. I'll close all schools. It'll be fine. There will be children that need nutrition from school meals. There's parents that work. There's exams. I get all that.
Yeah.
But unless you stop the curve early, this is what the experts are saying. This is not me. I'm not an expert. Unless you stop this curve early, what they're waiting for is the up ramp. Once the up ramp's there, they're thinking that whole groups of people will start to build an immune response, a new herd immunity. That's the word.
Okay.
But the problem is, we have vaccines. We have other reasons to do those things now. We don't need to, in humans, do that anymore. Like those parties where you send your kids to 30 years ago to get the illnesses that's better to offer as kids.
Right. I've forgotten those. Yeah.
We don't need to do that now.
Well, it's happening whether we need to do it or not, of course, because this thing is spreading like the plague, as we say. Yeah.
But a government shouldn't be. He said in an interview, the science advisor looked up and said in an interview that it needs about 60% of the population to get this virus. And the problem with 60% of the people getting this virus, without no vaccinations, without no real NHS that can cope with it, because the NHS couldn't cope with it before.
Yeah.
So it would need, that's about nearly 2 million people that's going to need NHS hospitalization and serious treatment.
Right.
And it's between 400 and 800,000 that will lose their lives.
Yeah. No, it's no joke. So what I want to bring to the party is, that meditation, music, laughter, relaxation, mindfulness, walks in nature, whatever we can do to lower the panic and come back into our bodies and, particularly open our hearts and to bless the situation, to bless everyone, etc. Of course, that will be extremely helpful and immune boosting. So it's kind of honestly what my guides that I've been channeling now for years, what they have been saying for a while is, here comes the clash of the paradigms. extremes, which is I'm a spiritual person or I'm a practical, scientific, rational person. And now we're seeing like, how do those two dance with each other, fit together, relate to each other, etc. So like this, my guides say every day we're invited, we're challenged, or we're required to know our spiritual nature. When we're in a crisis, we are required to know who we are, because that's the healing of the crisis. So I have it at this point from a few different astrologers and a psychic and some other good sources that I've come across. This is not going to be as bad as we think it is. It is going to be shorter and quicker, but sure enough, every one of us is going to go through the existential dread dance of this lifetime. Collectively, it's a planetary awakening process.
Absolutely is.
Yeah.
And I agree with everything you say, and especially meditation and mindfulness, that there is so much evidence that suggests that even these illnesses and all that we're going to come across and we're going to get, you're going to fight them so much easier just being mindful and just being the right vibration. I totally get all that.
Right.
And
It's,
and you perfectly say about where do these two worlds meet? Well, they're seen as two separate worlds, but they really shouldn't be. You know,
yes.
we cannot take that spiritual path and go, well, let's be spiritual and let's have the bubble around us. Let's have the thing, because really there needs to be some of this spiritualism injected into politics, injected into in a pragmatic way.
Yes. Well,
Because
that will
if
help.
there isn't a
Help that
bridge,
happen. Yeah.
and I think this is the perfect opportunity to do that.
I agree. I think that's why we're creating it or allowing it. You know, my teachers say everything in our experience, we're either inviting it or we're allowing it.
Yeah.
So the deep soul searching that we've all been doing so far, and as we talk about these shocking numbers, we need to keep doing, is what is this allowing me to look at in my life that something easier or simpler was not allowing me to look at? And it's as deep as it can be. And of course, I've been reading about, as I'm sure you have as well, how, you know, also good supplements, vitamin C, D, E, A, zinc, these kinds of things are extraordinarily helpful for people to fight off any infection. It's really about our faith versus our fears. And, you know, we can walk around in a protective suit all day long, but if we if we have no faith, it's not going to keep us safe. So this is a big test for us about, is there a loving higher power? Are we created for more than just our human purpose? Is there a spiritual purpose and dimension to our lives, or not? You see.
Just add a couple of little small questions in at the end there.
Sure.
We can solve them in the next 20 minutes.
Sure.
It's. I was just checking whether or not I was actually live on YouTube or not, because I never know whether I am or not.
Okay.
So someone can head over to YouTube on my channel and see if I am. But we got Karen here, we got Sherry here, Cheryl.
Great.
There, I can only see people that comment, by the way. I cannot see anybody that's here that's not commenting today, because we're streaming over several places and we're doing it via Zoom.
Right.
We could actually, if anybody wants to join in, we could give the Zoom room and they could come and join in as well. That's
brilliant. We are live on your YouTube. I'm just seeing here.
Oh, excellent. Well, one thing I was going to talk about or wanted to mention, I was going to do a video on it yesterday.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty much stuck in samsara at the moment, and there's part of me that is freaking right out.
Sure.
If I had to visualize what this is doing to me, it's like, so on one hand, there's a stimulus of when things like this are happening in the world, there is an excitement, just like when humans watch horror movies.
Sure.
You know, we clearly don't want that to happen to us, but we have a morbid fascination for it in some weird way.
Sure.
So I recognize that bit of me that's stimulated by that. But there is a bit of me that's really freaking out. You know, I cannot breathe in my chest muscles.
Right.
From a purely practical sense,
yeah,
a government doing nothing is terrifying.
Yes. Yes.
To me, they're not protecting the people that need protecting.
Right. Well,
Um,
yeah, go on.
it's but but reverse back up 30 years, because how have we got to a point, what I've noticed over the past few years, and I include me in this, so I'm really not singling anybody out. I'm saying nearly everybody that has internet access.
Yeah.
How come we're suddenly experts on everything, every single one of us? I have I have an ailment, and I go to Google, and I'm a doctor. I'm a I read two articles, and I'm a psychologist. I read three articles, and I'm a climatologist. And suddenly the internet has given us such a wealth of information that we have no longer have the ability to really discern what what information is coming in and what we should be absorbing or not. So we make up our mind about something, and we type into Google looking for reinforcement for that belief. The
Yes.
same as in the spiritual world as well.
Yes.
If we think we're meditating for aliens, we will type into how to meditate to chat to aliens.
Sure.
And there will be a million articles out there of how to communicate with all kinds of names of aliens out there.
Sure. Sure.
Um, and and that to me is the worrying thing, because we're listening to somebody on Twitter, we're listening to somebody on Facebook that says that this is just this, like the flu. This is just like the flu, for example, or climate change is not real, because they found an article by a doctor or something.
Yeah.
But we then ignore these specialist climatologists, spiritualists, or um, practitioners, people that have been studying it for 30, 40 years in life. And we read two articles, and we have this illusion that we know as much as them. So we're no longer listening to the experts.
Right.
We're listening to an article or a person that reinforces our belief. And I think that's a real worry
Well,
in all fields, not
yeah.
only in the samsara of the cycle of birth and death and suffering,
Yeah.
but also in the spiritual world.
Right. Right. Well, there's a line. No, I agree with you. I was going to bring up that point because that really is the crux of it. It's what my teacher calls the bridge of belief. And like you're saying, we can prove to ourselves anything that we believe is true if that is in alignment with the way the universe works. Is the important part of that sentence. But the further, as you said it beautifully. If we've already made up our minds, then we go out and we try to prove our point of view. And actually, I was just hearing a really brilliant chap from the States talk about this. His name is Christopher Martinson, and he's got a website about prosperity, but he's a pathologist, so he also knows his science, and he's been a really great source about good information about what's happening and what needs to happen, to my mind. But what he was talking about is what you're talking about, Steve, which is how we base our beliefs on our moral values.
Yeah.
And then we look for, he says, evidence to validate, to justify, to legitimize, to prove our moral values. So the thing is, what is a tragedy now, in dramatic terms, in the theater, is something that you can see the inevitable bad results, but no one can do anything to change it because everyone's character is fixed and it's all just set in stone. The drama is, of course, nothing is set in stone. Everything is changeable. And, what Abraham teaches, what my teachers say, is the basis of life is freedom. The purpose of life is joy. We're here at this time of profound choosing to wake up, that our hearts are actually more powerful than just the computer of our minds. And yes, there's this, you're right, you're wrong, you're crazy, you're sane, I don't trust you, I do trust you. All this dancing that we're doing about all this.
And all of that, like what you say, you guys, the purpose of life is joy. all of that gives us joy. We bump into the enemy of our enemy that we haven't even met before. We don't even know anything about them. Oh, you don't like them either. And then they're our friend. That
Right.
gives us joy.
Right.
We go to Google and we search in for something and we find something that fits our belief, gives us joy, gives us comfort.
Right. Right.
And it's the same in a weird way in a relationship. So you're in a relationship, it's loving and happy.
Yeah.
Suddenly something reminds you of a past betrayal. And then you're looking at the person, you're going, something's not right here. Then you go down that rabbit hole of looking for the something that's not right.
Right.
And when you find that something not right, in a weird way, we get joy from it. I knew it.
Well,
I knew I
yes.
was right.
Yes. Yes.
Meanwhile, we've ignored all of the evidence on the contrary.
Sure. Sure. That is it, my friend. That's why truth makes fools of us all, you see.
Yeah.
And we have to be, in quotes here, willing to humble ourselves in the presence of the truth when people we love are sick or people we care about and love are vulnerable, as is the situation right now, or might even be dying, for some people around the planet right now. It's not a theory any longer. It's, I need to find my truth, my place in this, my safety, my health, my
Yeah.
protection for my loved ones, all of that. So it's really intense right now, no doubt.
And anything that doesn't fit that joy or it is uncomfortable to us. We don't like it. I was sat in meditation this morning, and for a I don't know why it even come up. It has not been on my radar in my
Right,
mind
right.
for 20 years. I
Okay.
sat in meditation, so I sat there and then closed my eyes. And I kind of close my eyes and open my eyes because it's Zazen meditation I do. So it's not always closed eyes.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was sitting there and for some reason it brought up a person that was in my life 24, 25 years ago, might have been even longer than that, that did something that really hurt me. And not only that, my subconscious mind wanted me to visualize it and it wanted me to embed it. And it's like, where did that come from? And we don't like it. It's a feeling. So therefore, for that moment, before I thought, no, I need to sit with this, otherwise it ain't going to go during my whole meditation, I did everything to avoid it. Don't think about it. Don't think about it. Move on from it. Because I just wanted joy. And
Yes, I
and
know
that,
you. I know
it,
you. I know the story, how it goes for me
yeah.
too. Yeah. Yeah. Well,
My
so what
my
happened?
subconscious mind is not my friend. It's a tool to preserve this illusion of life, keep me here as long as possible, to keep me in the habit of what I've always done, to give me joy and pleasant feelings, and to avoid pain. That's what my subconscious mind is there for. It just
Well,
doesn't realize and understand quite what my human mind wants.
I might respectfully disagree with you a little bit about
Please
that, my
do so.
brother. Sure. You're this is why I love chatting with you, because you're way in the deep end of the water, man. Um, and you keep me on my toes here and get me thinking. I believe that everything works together for good when we allow it to. And
Yeah.
our experience of pain and fear are the beliefs that we're all moving through and still healing, that are of the ego and of the body and of our temporary illusions of separation. And actually, just this week in my morning prayers there, I'm reading the Course in Miracles, which says, the ego wants to believe that you are a body, and everything, your resentments and your grievances are all around your over-identification with being a body, being separate. And so the whole message of the Course is about forgiveness. So as you're going through this intense time with everything going on in your life, this old wound comes up, to put that word onto it. And I think Spirit is saying, would you like to reconsider this? Would you like to look at this differently? Because this energy is still in the way of you having that joy, you see. And like you said, I'm trying to push it away and move past it and get
Yeah.
over it and not deal with it. And it keeps coming up. And it's like, well, so all I know is when in my journey, when I work with others or myself and I truly forgive, then I come back to peace. And to talk about all of this right now, you know, the channeling for me over the last few weeks has been the analogy of the eye in the hurricane, which is spirit saying to all of us conscious little bunny rabbits, we need you to be the peace that others have lost their access to, and we need you to keep deepening your peace in yourself so that you can see that you will all get through this and that there is joy at the end of all this. So does that make sense?
It does make a lot of sense.
Okay.
I was
I love when it makes sense, Steve.
I was trying not to preload a response.
Okay.
So I haven't got a response.
Oh, that's fine. You'll come up with one, I'm sure.
It's in the sense of the ego itself is that separateness.
Right.
It thinks it's separate.
Yes.
The ego is separate. It's the ego, the thoughts and beliefs. It
Yes.
cannot have an opinion, thought, or belief without it being separate. It's that attachment to all those things that bring.
That's brilliant. Yes, it is the attachment
Yeah.
to the illusion of separation. See, that's absolutely the heart of it, to my mind, that calls forth these crises that demand that we transcend this illusion of separation again.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I'm attached to my resentment or my jealousy or my rage or my, you know, whatever it is, fine, feel it. You know, my guides say, face your fears, feel your feelings, find your freedom. So the process, we can heal the ego is the message of the Course in Miracles by lovingly letting go of our attachments and forgiving ourselves and forgiving each other and coming back to peace. And then we can be discerning and detached. You see, we can say, is that my truth? Does that feel right for me? Or am I talking myself into something? That's the practice.
Yeah.
Okay. And Lazarus puts it this way. He says there's happiness. Happiness is the meeting of our needs, and joy is the meeting of our preferences.
Oh, absolutely. Pleasantness and all that. You know, happiness isn't anything more than detachment from the ego's wants and desires and pushes. I always say about the happiness line, and if you just sit below the ego and just in complete detachment from the wants in that moment, that's happiness. You know, that's why I read an article the other day about music.
Okay.
But apparently music, especially music with words in, the two sides of the brain. One side of the brain, the creative side, determines the music. So it listens to the music and enjoys the music.
Right.
The analytical side of the brain does the words and does the story with the words. And this is why we can get so comfortably in the flow listening to music.
I love it.
Because it fulfills both sides of the brain. It doesn't leave one longing.
Sure.
So it transcends all of the wants and the see, we can listen to real music that brings on these feelings as well, because it half transcends the mind and goes to the feelings, especially when we put on music that helps us to perhaps be upset when we feel like we should be upset.
Sure.
I'm a good one for that. You know, if I'm hurting emotionally, I want the most emotional, painful music possible.
Sure.
You know, who was it that sung that song years ago? I just want to hurt right now. I just want to feel pain. And you know, it's that kind of thing. But it isn't because you want to feel pain. It's because you want to transcend the thoughts and all that, and that's what music does so beautifully. So it doesn't give you time to have that ego in.
Yes, it doesn't. It keeps you. I mean, you're saying it beautifully, Steve. You know, music is opens us up. It's our spirit. It moves us. It touches us in our heart and soul, and it gets us out of the thinky mind, and it gets us able to feel and express our feelings and raise our feelings. By expressing them, we move through them rather than staying stuck in them and arguing about them.
We have Sandra here. Elizabeth's here. Hi, Elizabeth. Hi, Sandra.
Yeah. Any questions or comments?
I get Michelle. How Michelle says, yes, Stephen, going through emotional depth so as to heal. Judy says, hi, Cheryl. Karen's here. Spirit is asking, do you want to look at this differently? Wow.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's powerful, isn't it?
That's the truth, Cheryl. That's quite well said. How can you look at this differently?
Yeah.
This is forcing you to search your heart and soul and find the difference here.
Yeah, that was Karen said that, but yeah.
Karen, perfect.
Junie Sorensen, I think I got that right.
All right.
Exactly. I live through spirit and don't let the ego interrupt my life.
Brilliant.
Happiness is found within the love meditation, and I stay positive about every situation. And the thing is with that, hi Teresa, is also to not become addicted to the spiritual side of things,
Well, it's
the
not an
meditation
escape from
and the
reality.
emptiness.
Yeah.
Because again, that can be as harmful as the attachment to pain and victimhood and pleasures.
Yes. Any attachment is resistance.
Yeah.
You see, and so by having a practice, it's great what conscious people you have on this call here. By having a spiritual practice, we are devoted to the process, and we, through surrendering to the process every day, more is revealed about our true nature. If we, as you say, if we go in with an agenda or we have resistance or whatever, that is going to interfere with our ability to tune into the peace and grace and love that's there for us.
Took me 3 years of meditation to not go into meditation with an agenda. And I still only occasionally manage that. It's like, right, I'm going to have the most peaceful meditation. No, let it go.
Yeah. Well, of course, because the mind is like a hungry ghost, as the saying goes. You know,
You'll never clench the thirst of the ego. And rightly so. There's something beautiful about the ego longing, because if the ego did not develop to long, we would still be in caves.
well, honestly, I'm going to have to take exception, I think, with a little bit of that, brother, because I honestly think that's why we're going through this right now. I mean, I've been saying this for a while, and this is certainly my struggles and my joys, that we're at the very edge of the what we think is the ego and what we think the ego has to be. And the difference between, to my mind, being unconscious versus conscious is that we can heal our relationship to everything, including ourselves, and not stay stuck in addiction, obsession, and compulsion. And just to come back to this, we're saying, why is the British government reacting this way? Why is the American government reacting this way? Because the psychology of the leadership who has the decision-making process in power is obviously utterly overwhelmed and incapable of facing this in a for real way. These are all the Michael Crichton novels that I've read, and all the thrillers that are out there. You take an unstoppable force and hit it with an immovable object, and that's the perfect storm that we're living through right now. So what I see is people who have new ideas, new thoughts, new resources, new possibilities. Our energy is going to rise to the surface, and others are going to go, oh, tell me more. How could I see this differently? How could I relate to this differently? How can I have more power in this situation? These kinds of things.
Just want to go back to, so it's Janie. Thank you for giving me the right pronunciation of your name. Hi, Dolores. Christina says, hello, everyone. I want to see and hear this, but have important things to do right now. I have a meeting because of coronavirus. So I will see you later. God bless you, Stephen and Lou, and all others.
Let me share very quickly here. There's a story in the Independent today. Deserted Italian street rings out with song as people lean from windows to sing together during the lockdown.
Yeah,
that's nice.
It is, and also, I always believe there's a gift in everything, and there's gifts in even this.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with being angry at governments. There's nothing wrong with being angry. Zen masters and people, Buddhist monks and all that, and the spiritual teacher should be angry at things that when people suffer, when other people are suffering through the hands of other people, we should be angry.
Yes.
It's what we do with it.
That's right.
Now, there's no way that we can tackle this and not have suffering?
Well, yes, I mean, tackling this is responding to the fear and the suffering and the pain, and seeing, the sign of maturity is seeing the big picture and the small picture at the same time. So if it's at 10 today and it's at 100 tomorrow and it's at 1,000 the day after that, you want to start acting like, what can we do to prevent the
Yeah.
worst from happening?
Unless, of course, you want to reduce testing to make sure the numbers don't climb too quickly, which is what was
Don't get me
announced
started.
yesterday.
Yes, of course. I mean, he is a big baby, and he has absolutely met his match, the emperor with no clothes in the
Yeah.
U.S. of A. And I believe it's the same for Johnson. A lot of his people are telling him,
Yeah.
you've got to quarantine, and he's
Johnson's
not
doing the
able.
same thing.
Yeah, yeah. So the worse this gets, sadly, the more obvious it's going to be that the government and the leadership is not cut out for this. And like we're saying, we're all going to have to find our own answers and help each other to do that.
Yeah. Janie says, ego, I feel, is the devil trying to get us into a bad situation. I have overcome the ego's manipulation. I want to address that.
Please.
And um I want to address it in the way, when I talk about ego, I'm talking about the I, the self. So the ego is what's having this conversation here now. It's the ego that um wants to get over the ego. And if the ego is over if you're over the ego, it's the ego that's already over it. The ego is the self that shows up. So the only thing beyond the ego is awareness itself. And
Okay.
awareness itself has no attachments, no longing, no pushing, no things. But the awareness itself cannot really participate in life. It's not really experiencing anything more than awareness.
Right.
So it's the ego that enjoys love. It's the ego that enjoys positiveness, and it's the ego that also revels in negativeness. But the ego doesn't have no duality, actually. It's only what the ego learns to, how do I cling on to pleasantness? Everything is
Yeah.
about pleasantness. So, oh, I'm going to get rid of my ego. Oh, that feels pleasant. Okay, I'll fake that. Because the ego will fake all enlightenment, all waking up. The ego
Right.
is faking everything.
Right. 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 But the thing is, you're absolutely right. The thing is, of course, I just want to say I don't believe in the devil. I just want to put that out there on the airwaves. And so, because if we believe there's some malevolent force out to get us, then we're empowering that. And that's part of, so all of these are stages of our growth as consciousness. And you're saying it very beautifully to my mind. So when we're in meditation, when we're in, we have an epiphany, when we have a revelation, when there's a beautiful synchronicity, when our heart opens, we transcend our attachment to the body, time, and space. This identity is the word I'm looking for. And my experience and my perception is that there is a higher self, soul, and spirit that each of us have, that in order for us to bring those perceptions through us, we are being asked to let go of our over-identification with the body and our level of consciousness. So through healing from crisis, we humble ourselves, we become vulnerable, we let go of our attachments, we surrender control, and we say, I do not know, please show me. You see, and that's the gift of crisis. It says, your higher self says, well, thank you, Lou. Now I can let more of who you really are come through the situation, because you're not pretending to be this, like you know everything any longer. But it's work for everyone.
And that's what they call the dark night of the soul, I believe, when the ego gives up the feelings and the wants. It's just, do you know what? I've tried for 40 years. I've tried to please you. Now I give up. So you spend like a few days in a state of dormant, really, non-duality, and of no wants, and that's not a pleasant place to be.
Right. Right. Well, it's, again, you're making a beautiful point, and so is your person there. It's what we identify with, what we claim as our own, what we believe in and how deeply we believe it and if it's true for us now. And as you and I know, the gift of crisis is it asks us to let go of all of our attachments and to find what is the path, the truth, onto the other side of the dark night of the soul. So with the planet going through this all together at the same time, the wisdom of humanity, the higher self of the human race and the higher self of the earth, which I also believe is a part of our conscious experience moving forward on in life on this world, are trying to talk to each other and listen to each other and reconnect with each other and come back into harmony. And since it couldn't happen in an easier way, the universe is saying, well, we got to turn up the volume.
You see, I don't necessarily believe in a higher self.
All right, then.
And I believe in a finite self and an infinite collective.
Right.
And I believe we can be connected to the infinite collective, but I don't think we would have any awareness of it being there. We were part of the infinite prior to being the finite self here now. And I think if we believe there's a higher self, that creates a hierarchy within ourselves.
Only to the ego, you see, not to yourself.
Well, yes, but the whole self is the ego. There is no other self in my feeling.
I understand.
Then I may not have let go enough.
Well, yes, honestly, brother, I think you're saying that very accurately. And I'm over here cheering you on, saying it's this far away from where you're at right now. And for all of us, Steve, because I mean, you know, man, I put my pants on one leg at a time, like everyone else. But part of my own journey is, that there are these transcendent states, which, once you have that experience, you go, okay, this world is the illusion and that world is reality. How do I know that? Because that is so much more intense and loving than this experience here. And, everyone in their near-death experience, nobody wants to come back in their body. Everyone wants to stay. Yeah. Why? Because they're in an expanded state in the other realms.
But is that?
It's a paradox to be in the world.
Is that not the ego faking it? Is that not the ego going, okay, have your little thing? For the ego to bring it back and the ego to become attached to that. How would you know? How would we know?
I know by reading other people's experiences and having similar experiences myself. And everyone, you've not gone to Paris. Paris looks like this. I've come back from Paris. I'm telling you it's there. You're telling me, I don't know, Lou. Is it there? Is there such a place? Does it really exist?
I've just read, I always say Sadhguru. It's a really British way of saying Sadhguru.
Yes.
I've just read his book for the first time.
Yeah.
And he explains about the experience he had at the top of something hill.
Yes.
Where
his mystical awakening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had the same thing at the bottom of the pool. And it's difficult to explain. It's difficult to put it in words.
That's part of its nature, that you can't define it through words and logic.
So, and my interpretation of what, just for the viewers, my experience at the bottom of the pool was after breaking my neck, and starting to drown, starting to die or whatever.
Yes.
I had
bless you,
an experience of I become the water, I become the pool, I become the people, the field, the grass, the dirt. There was no longer me and a separate to all that. There was no longer a longing. There was an awareness.
Right.
In a non-duality sense. Now, in Buddhism, they call this
well, it's
sure it's neti mind, not this, not that, or is it
oneness? To my mind, it's a simple way to say it: oneness with everything.
Well, oneness, yeah. In Buddhism, they call that oneness. Yeah. But I don't see that as a higher self or lesser. I see that as a purely breaking down of a couple of elements in our brain that creates this false illusion. Now, then, for me to now explain it, there must have been some part of the self still online in order to bear witness to it.
Yes, of course.
So the finite self was still present. And this is where it becomes difficult, because two people can go to France and both explain it completely different.
Sure.
I think that they use the perfect example of 5 blind people go up to an elephant and touch
Sure.
one part.
Yes. Yes.
And one will
Absolutely.
say it's a long thing, one will say it's a
It's a
really,
snake. It's a rope. It's a wall. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it is really difficult because we've become the limits of the language and limits of our explanation. And how do you explain red to a blind person? And how do I explain to you my feeling of love apart from using the words joy, enlightenment, pleasantness, that kind of thing? But then you only know those words, and same as everybody else, in your experience of what joy is.
Well, yeah. Yeah. These are great questions,
Joy
man.
is not universal.
Oh, it is. It's just not constant.
It's universally present, but your joy would not be the same as my joy, because my joy would be based on my life and experiences. Because
Well,
it's the ego that experiences the joy.
see, this is the thing. The mind separates and the heart unites. And in everyone's, so in your traumatic experience with your accident, and being at the edge of your consciousness of living and dying, you were given a huge gift, which many people are in those moments, which is a taste of your eternal self. And then you come back into the body and you survive and you recover and you go through everything you've endured. God love you. And then you have this place in yourself where you say, look, folks, I realize I'm actually not just my mind and body. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know how to quantify it, but there it is. And see, this is the paradox, my friend. Jesus said, I want you to live in the world, but not of the world.
So when you say a higher self, I would say a non-limited self.
Well, you see, yeah, the ego
Is it
thinks,
just a play on language, really?
well, this is,
Not a
this is,
play, but a
yeah,
use of language.
yeah. I mean, Abraham says words don't teach anything.
No,
Experience,
yeah,
experience teaches everything. And you're using it, you're saying it well. I mean, Gurdjieff would say it's like a finger pointing at the moon. How do you describe this? How do you share this? So the way we share it truly is through our vibration, through our poetry and our music and our dancing and loving service and compassion and all the things you and I do every day and everyone here does every day
yeah.
to express and experience who we think we are. That is all being shattered right now because the challenge of this moment globally is for all of us to, this is my one, to look beyond the wall, to reach beyond
Yeah.
the limits. Okay. And so having had these transcendent and mystical experiences, we can draw upon that and say, well, I do believe there's something more than my mind and my body. And if I practice peace and faith and receptivity and self-love and self-care, then I can be a vehicle for that, a vessel for that is a better
Yeah.
word. And then I can bring some of that vibration out into my work and my life. And people will also begin to think that maybe there's more to reality here. This is the end of the 3D paradigm, black, white, right, wrong, male, female, up and down. This is all there is.
Yeah.
This is all that's possible. And the beginning of the divine feminine, the emotional, the spiritual, taking the lead, leading with our hearts, living from the inside out, you see.
Yeah. Absolutely. I just got Janie's gone to occupational therapy.
Good.
Michelle Payne says, I love your self-awareness life. It's all about growing and learning.
Amen.
Dolores says, I agree with you both. We as humans will have self-ego attachment. We strive to let go of this. It's maybe we'll never really understand it all. Oh, I hope we don't understand it all.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. Don't worry about that. And your ego is very happy to feel limited and all of that as well. It's, all truly powerful beings are humble because they understand they are not the whole experience. We're the tip of the iceberg, any of us at any given moment. And Spirit is wanting to channel through us, love and inspiration and joy and wisdom and healing. And that's what being a clear and open channel for Spirit is about. And it's, here's my ego. I love it. It doesn't help me in this moment. Let me get it out of the way.
So
Back in your box. That's what I say to my ego. Yeah.
Yeah, but the Michelle says, Michelle, note to self, put phone on silent in future.
That's fine.
Michelle says, what you're saying, is it all subjective? Yeah, a lot of it is, because we can only see it in that way. We can only help share experience. It comes down to, in Buddhism, they have, and I can't remember the two words for it. They have two schools of thought. You know, there's the knowledge and the experience.
Right.
And neither one are worth anything without the other.
Right.
You know, I could read every book in the world, unless
Right.
I'm going to put it down to experience and do something with it, it's worthless.
Sure.
And I think there's one quote that's brilliant. The person that can read has no advantage over the person that can't read if he doesn't.
Sure. Sure.
So it really does come down to, like you say, moving to the heart and experiencing the oneness sitting beyond the ego.
Right.
And
yeah, go on.
And that is, if there's an aim of meditation, is to separate that thoughts of the, when the ego is longing and pushing and the attachments and all the other things. But there's nothing wrong with those things.
There's nothing
It's
wrong with anything.
like say the attachment. The ego is not bad. The ego is a wonderful, brilliant, evolved mechanism to allow us to experience living and hunting and survive and do all the things we
Yes,
do.
no, it's not bad. It's necessary. It's just not the whole picture, you see.
And you
when
can't
we're
get
in
rid of it.
crisis, we need to look beyond the picture that we have.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
It's the question I was going to ask, I think, and I'm not quite sure how to frame it.
Oh, good.
Because we differ on the spiritual things. We probably differ on the language more than the actual.
Yes, because we've had
things.
the same experience. So we're two guys describing the elephant here. You
know? So the spiritual, see, I don't believe I'm any different to the universe, to the sponge on the wall. You know, the sponge has in a hierarchy of things, I'm no more important to the universe than the sponge. The universe.
Well, you've been the sponge.
No,
you've
either.
been the minerals. You've been the plant. You've been the animal. You've been 1,000 lifetimes.
I still am and still will be.
Yes, but you exist different from the sponge because you have a purpose that is different from the sponge's purpose. That's why you exist the way you do. Everything is created for a reason, including each one of us. And when we argue, no, I'm just like all of life, then we're missing the opportunity. Why am I me? Why am I me with my strengths and weaknesses, with my mortal dance in this world? That's the joy when you find out the purpose for that, you see.
See, I respectfully disagree with that.
Good.
And here's why.
Yes. You're the sponge.
And I'm not sure whether we actually disagree or not. That's what I'm trying to get to.
All right, buddy.
I don't believe in necessarily purpose. You know, I give that sponge purpose, those atoms purpose.
No, they create their
and the same as my ego gives me purpose. And that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think when we become attached to the fact that we have purpose and we're here for a reason, it's almost like, on one hand, it's saying, well, that means we're not important. That means we haven't got nothing here. And that means I'm just that. And I look at that and go, well, no, that means for me to be able to just be a clump of atoms, but to have thought and experience, it's freaking awesome and amazing. And that's what makes all of this even more magic, and not so much purposeful, just almost accidental magic that's freaking awesome beyond belief.
Well,
you know, me and you having a conversation
Mm-hmm.
is like, it doesn't happen in eons and eons. And yet we're sat here doing that as a couple of bunch of atoms that are having thought, talking about awareness of self. That's just.
Yeah. Consciousness, I'm with you. So, for a lot of that. So we have so much freedom that we can decide that we're prisoners. We have so much purpose, we can decide we don't have any purpose, and that becomes our purpose. We have so much choice, we can say, I don't have any choices, and that's our choice. And this is why life in our reality is a paradox. And you see, the mind
Paradox,
believes
perfect.
in black and white, and the heart knows how to unify or live in both possibilities at the same time.
Yeah.
All right. So, but consciousness is always, it's the metaphor is, the analogy is a spiral. You know, we're always growing, we're always evolving, we're always moving up, no matter what we think, feel, or
Yeah.
believe, through our choices and through our decisions and how the universe works. Everything is always evolving and growing. That's just the way life, nature, reality works. We have the free will to deny that, or to feel better than, or separate than, or less than, or competitive with. All this. People right now are feeling, excuse me, attacked by life, attacked by Mother Earth, attacked
Yeah.
by those bloody Chinese over there eating their bat soup or whatever it might be, you know. No, my friends, you're in charge of your reality, and you're allowing this, I'm allowing this to help me see what is my connection with all of life in a deeper way than I've allowed myself to look at before this. And when I take that as an opportunity to grow and love and serve and heal my fears and blah, 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 then, you know, I become of better use to the world. I grow evolve my consciousness, and then the world can evolve its consciousness and say, let's live in a more conscious world where we respect and love each other and take care of each other better.
Yeah.
All right. But so all of that is free will. And for people who can't handle it, or don't want this, or it's too complicated or too scary, they're going to be greatly challenged, as many people are in the world right now.
Free will is a whole different show, and I want to cover. But I also want to address what Dolores said to me.
Yeah. Always
Half of my brain's going on about, do we make decisions ourselves, or do we? I'm thinking of Rupert Sapira here, and by the time we know the decision we made, were we the ones that made the decision? But that's a whole different show, and you know. But Christina says, I love your self-awareness life. Amazing you both are. God bless you all. Have a great weekend. Kane says on Periscope, hi Periscope viewers, growing and learning and peaceful expansion. In Kazanzana, sorry if I butchered your name, I really am. I love these conversations. And Alberta says hello. Dolores says, Stephen, can it be that we're not on here on earth for our purpose, but for God's source purpose? My answer to that question is, I don't know. Now then, me as a finite person, I don't know. However, also me as a finite person at the same time, this is the paradox. Or I don't think the universe has some kind of fate, source, plan. I don't think the universe is up there and there's anything in the universe, any entity going, oops, I'm crashing two galaxies into each other right now, possibly killing evolved species that have been there way longer than humans. I don't think the universe is up there going, oops, for an earthquake and things like that.
Well, yeah.
So, but the flip side of that, and you just addressed it.
Yeah, I do, and I put it differently, but carry on.
The flip side of that is, so that means we've got no importance whatsoever. We're just atoms and we're nothing and we're nobody, which is a terrifying thought, especially for the ego. What do you mean I'm nothing? What do you mean I'm here and I've got 80 years on Earth and you're gonna say I'm nothing?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes and no, because you can either go down the route that you're nothing and stay there, or you can, like you did, the paradox of holding both. And that is, to me, for us to be able to be looking at the universe and observing it and seeing where we live and seeing our life and all that, above all species on Earth, you know, Carl Sagan said, humans or consciousness, awareness, is a way for the universe to observe itself.
That's right.
Which to me is probably the most powerful opening that we could ever have, to have that realization.
That's right.
And you got to think, this has taken how long to evolve?
Well, time is an illusion, so is no problem for God. You understand? Consciousness is all that there is. And it just keeps continuing to create itself and to evolve itself. And then there's love and our soul and our spirit.
Could you
And
define your, not say your God, could you define your definition of God then?
perfect
Which
peace and
might help.
perfect peace and unconditional love.
Yeah. And again, my definition is we are all God. We're all equally, every atom is God. It is everything. I
Well,
don't
yes,
believe it's an entity of any kind
no, it's consciousness itself that
or
expresses
collective
itself.
entity, maybe.
It is consciousness itself. You don't need to collect it. It is what it is.
Hmm.
You don't have to put it in a box. It's everything that exists everywhere. That's what God is.
Quite
It's
possibly. I believe that as well, but I don't know that for sure.
well, yeah, you can't demonstrate it to anyone unless you're an enlightened master like Sadhguru and some of these chaps, which is brilliant. But what you can do as a channel for good or a channel for art or a channel for inspiration is say, how can I serve you? Consciousness for good and love and healing that wants to evolve our awareness of who and what we are in a beautiful, meaningful, joyous way.
Hmm.
I think that's the prayer of this time right now. And so it's not about proving or demonstrating, it is faith. And what is faith? Faith is evidence of miracles, belief in things unseen that comes from inside of us. You see, the mind is a computer, it's an imagination machine, and the heart is, to me, the generator of emotion, and that's the doorway of the soul. And when we're moved, Steve, when we're brought to tears, when we see something terrible or something beautiful, that is the deepest part of ourselves saying, that's valuable, that's powerful, that is important. And when we're not trying to live in our heads and our little egos and being good, bad, and right and wrong all the time, we go, wow, I want more of that. I want to share more of that. I want to be more of that. Then your higher self, soul, and spirit starts to be able to work through you, and the synchronicities, the magic, the miracles start to happen in your experience, which it's not held back from anyone, it's held for everyone, but we have to be at that vibration of peace and love in order to believe it, in order to receive it. This is the struggle with the human ego and 3D and the physical reality. And I say again, the gift of crisis is, it says, you don't know how to get through this situation and you need to learn, and I'm here to teach you, and you better listen to this part of yourself that knows how to learn. I got all excited there.
I know. I know. See, you started. I want to jump back to the very beginning of what you just said.
Sure.
You said about Sadhguru and all the other gurus. Do you know what their answer would be to this conversation? I feel is, why are we worried about God? Why are we worried about all that? How about we just deal with the pleasantness now?
Yeah. Well, God's happy to be here now.
That's the reality.
Sure.
As far as
we can't think our way to God.
No.
Okay. It's an experience. It's love.
And Michelle and Delors point out it's about the source.
Yes, and aligning to that, and
we are equally the source and the ingredients for it.
This is, I mean, yes, you have the ingredients for the cake on the table, but you've got to put it together and put it in the oven, and then you can eat it. Yeah. So yes, we all have equal access in potential, but it's what we practice, what we believe, and what we live by. That is how we evolve our consciousness, becoming more peaceful and more loving and more inspiring.
And it's a moment by moment showing up.
Of course.
What serves me right now? What serves me? It's the awareness of what serves me right now. It's asking those questions.
Well, my friend, you know this as much as anyone. You are huge in service to other people. God bless you. Despite your disability and any limitations you have to cope with every day, you're out there serving 100% of the time, as far as I can see. And, it's because and I know that's where the joy is. When we get out of our own way and we go, wow, I made somebody feel good. I helped somebody solve a problem. I put a smile on somebody's face. Huh?
We said the other day, don't deny your light, or you cannot deny your light.
Well, it's
I
why.
want to run right now. I want to hide right now. After you say,
No, buddy, you're it's beautiful, Stevie. Joe and I just love you to pieces, and I know many others do as well, because you are that server and that giver, because that's where the joy is, you see. That's where the greatest joy is. When we can help each other have a better life, then every one of us receives that blessing, you see.
and despite this whole
Run and
whole
hide. What are you
conversation,
talking about?
because I have to change the subject.
Okay, fine. All right.
And
You
despite
two
this whole
giant words, yeah.
conversation, it is about a moment by moment thing. It doesn't really matter what you believe in opinions, as long as we don't get attached to that belief that this is the way it is. Um,
Well, everyone is attached to their beliefs. That's just the nature of belief. The challenge of a healing crisis is it says you might be wrong. You might not know everything.
yeah,
You might need to learn
be,
something.
be, be okay with that belief might be shattered one day.
Well,
That
belief just,
it's okay not to have to be right.
yeah, man, it just comes and goes. Beliefs
Yeah.
are a dime a dozen. I believe this, I believe that, I believe the other. The gift of the spiritual journey, again, and of being of service, is every day we put our hearts on the altar and we give ourselves back to God to the best of our ability. And we say, I do not know. Please help me to remember or to learn.
Yeah.
And I will act from that to the best of my human ability. And it's a joy and an honor.
That's
Thank you.
exactly right. I
Thank you.
do not know.
Right, right. That's the place of power.
And never can become attached to any gurus or anything like that.
Well, all right.
All of them are still working it out.
Yeah, buddy, you're as much, look at all the gurus that are falling from grace right now. Yogi Bhajan, John of God, all these guys were doing naughty things, and there's many others out there as well. To me, Trump and Boris Johnson are false gurus. Putin is another false guru. Once people really see the mask fall from these faces and how frightened these little boys are inside these men's lives, it's becoming quickly a different story. I'm just saying, with the ego, what we believe about ourselves, that's what we strive to prove every day. If we are of loving service to each other, as clearly the whole planet is being demanded to be right now, we are being asked to care about every life on the planet right now. This has never happened in our lifetime this way. So we say, okay, God, this is huge. It's too much for me. I don't know what to do with it. Please show me what you would have me do. That's the beginning of wisdom.
Yeah, exactly. Not knowing.
Right. And humility.
And talking about, because we started with this crisis, so we'll go there now towards the end.
We'll probably have many more opportunities to talk about this, right?
What is beautiful about this is seeing the countries all around the world collectively deal with it.
Of course.
And there is the odd country that, there's the Putin that is probably going to brush aside everything but the economy, because it would be a perfect opportunity for him to boost his economy while the others are failing.
Well, that's
announced that he's going to stand down in 2036. That was quietly in the radar the other day.
Yeah, this separation has come to an end. I'm here to tell you. The only way forward for all of us is to give a damn about each other more than we ever have.
And a lot of the countries are showing that. So many countries are, we've got to forget our economy and all that. We'll deal with that later.
Exactly.
At one point, the economies were nothing to what they are now. We will always deal with that. But you cannot deal with losing a large percentage of your population and morally stay.
Yeah, the trauma of people seeing thousands, hundreds of thousands of people get sick and die is truly staggering. And it breaks every heart open, you see, and says, what can we do?
Dolores says, we are learning from each other and therefore we can help. Absolutely. People, Alexander, hi, Alexander, and hi, Yvonne said, would that be at maybe our aha moment? I can't remember what that was.
Well,
sorry, Yvonne.
This is our aha moment. That's why I want to get on with Stevie. We're in it now, my friend.
So someone asked the other day, someone asked somebody, looked up and goes, so when is the good time to really sort some of these problems out? And he goes, now.
Exactly.
And he looked really perplexed at the question. And it's like, well, why would you ask that question? He goes, well, I'm just wondering whether. He said, well, now is the only ever time you can deal with anything.
Right. As
I said, do anything next week.
Yes. So when we answer the invitation every day, when life is normal and manageable, it's because we're listening, trusting, and following our loving inner guidance, and we're treating others the way we want to be treated. The law of karma, the golden rule, this, you know, am I at peace with my neighbor and myself and God, then I'm okay. If I'm not, then there's a problem. So this oneness, you were saying, we were talking about it in terms of mysticism, but I just really want to make this point that, you know, a poor person is going to get as sick and be as contagious as a wealthy person who can go see a great doctor. And so suddenly we're all in the same boat, and we have to care about everyone's health on the planet in a whole deeper way. And so again, man, that's what this awakening is about, is, you know, let's treat each other with love and respect and make the world a fairer and a more equitable and humane place for all of us to live. And then this is going to be the best thing that ever happened to us. That's my speech.
And I'm going to go to the message just before we end it.
Yeah.
So Laura says, hearing the song now, lean on me. Yep, exactly. Alexander says, it's okay not to know everything. Yep. Elaine says, absolutely. And also it's...
we'll never know everything, guys. There's no danger of that.
We often try to learn to love or learn to trust or learn to think. Well, I'll sit in meditation and I'll learn to love my neighbor. No. Love your neighbor now. You know, that's what the meditation is. That's what the thing is. You cannot do these things later. You know, if you want to learn to climb Mount Everest in the gym, you're already doing it.
Sure. That's quite true and well said. And that's why you and I both have a spiritual practice and recommend this to everyone, and sit with people and help them work through their fears and their pain and their loneliness and self-judgment. So yeah, I just want to say, Stevie, as we're ending up here, I can't give to anyone else something that I deny myself. So as we learn to love and forgive and accept and honor ourselves, then we become a bigger place to pour that out into the other people in our lives. So a lot of us have been programmed, oh, I'm not to give to myself, I have to give to everyone else, and maybe someday someone will give to me. No, my friends, you got to give to yourself what you can, and then you believe in the abundance and beauty of life, and then you can give to others from that place of wisdom and generosity. And that's, the world is desperate in a crisis of generosity right now, needing to learn how to do that again, to give to each other. And thank you for your time, your beautiful spirit, and your great consciousness.
And I'm going to leave with the most wisest thing of this moment. You know, wash your hands for the world, not just yourself.
There you go. That's a good one. Yes, and pray while you wash your hands. That would be my suggestion. Pray for the world.
Thank you, everybody that joined us and all that. You know, it's been a while, Lou, and I'm glad we've done it. Is there anything you want to tell anybody about? Anything you're doing at the moment?
Sure. Thank you, buddy. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I love you so much. I'm so grateful for all you do. I'm happy to embarrass you, kill you with kindness, all of that, put a smile on your face, make you blush. It's all the joy. What a great guy you are. And I'm so blessed to know you. And Joe feels 100% the same way. People can always find me at loumartin.org or Lightheart 2012. And I do my Monday morning through Thursday morning prayers, as you do a lot of work there. And I do groups and one-to-one sessions. That's my passion, is doing readings with people one-to-one.
Brilliant. And feel free to put a link on the live and all that.
Thank you. Thank you.
We'll do it again next month.
Okay, groovy.
It'll be a different world.
Oh, man. Better.
Thank you. Thank you,
all
everyone.
Right. Thanks, Stevie.